Hey guys, this is Standing for Truth. This is going to be just a really short video. It's going to be an education session for the evolutionists and the uniformitarian. This is proof positive. We've made many videos that are proof positive that the evolutionists, they'll use overused arguments that have been addressed, arguments that have been debunked over and over again, even in the very same video that they are commenting on, as you will see here. Today, we are going to educate the evolutionist on geology and history. Now, when I debated R.J. Downard for the first time months and months ago, he brought up plate tectonics, saying that creationists were scared of plate tectonics and we've had to adopt it almost as a rescue device to explain things away that were contradictory to our model. But what he actually failed to address, and what I actually mentioned in the debate as a rebuttal, is that Antonio Snyder, he published his proposal that continental sprint produced the Earth's present geography. And he published this in a book in 1859, and it went largely unnoticed. Maybe this was due to the fact that the bulk of the scientific community that specific year was preoccupied with Darwin's new book. Now, at the end of the day, Snyder, he based his idea off of Genesis 1, which suggests that God created the Earth's original dry land as one large supercontinent. So at the end of the day, they can point to geologists, uniformitarians, other scientists that hold to an evolutionary worldview and say that they first proposed the idea of plate tectonics or a supercontinent, for example. But the fact is, this was proposed by a creationist by the name of Antonio Snyder, and it was hijacked by the evolutionists. So at the end of the day, just like with other forms of arguments, for example, they will consistently bring up the fact that we have no way to explain speciation, hyperspeciation after Noah's flood. And then I explained to them the hypothesis of created heterozygosity, and they'll even agree. For example, Snake was right in one of our debates recently, our 2 verse 2 debate, admitted, I have no objection to this, but they will use it over and over again. For example, R.J. Downard, even though I corrected him on this and he had no rebuttal to it, I've seen him consistently and continuously use this argument over and over and over again. At the end of the day, a catastrophic plate tectonics model that's based on flood geology explains everything we see. It is actually the uniformitarian that needs to develop rescue devices and hijack the work of creationists.
The modern creationism of the 21st century stripes is kind of okay with plate tectonics. They didn't start out that way. They were absolutely certain that continental drift was complete crock.
He talked about Snelling using old sources. He uses the 1859 data from Antonio Snyder, which evolutionists also use today, the concept of continental sprint. Evolutionists hijacked the idea and changed it to continental drift. So at the end of the day, they have a huge bias.
The idea of plate tectonics today is such a deeply ingrained idea that many people assume that the concept is completely proved and that the only obvious way to explain the Earth's crust. Many creationists, and I include myself, would suggest that plate tectonics is indeed the best explanation, though we would not accept the evolutionary timescale, suggesting that the tectonic movement must have been rapid and catastrophic in the early days of the flood. However, the deep-time evolutionary version of plate tectonics owes much to the work of Alfred Wegener, who published his ideas of continental drift in 1912, but whose ideas were not widely accepted until the 1950s. However, Wegener was not the originator of the idea. The first published account of this concept was a book called La Création et ses mystères dévoilés, The Creation and its Mysteries Unveiled, by the French geologist Antonio Snyder Pellegrini. Pellegrini noticed 2 important facts. First, examining a map of the world, he realized that the continents of the world are similar to a jigsaw. It's possible to move the continents so that they appear to join together. Pellegrini hypothesized that the continents had originally been joined, but had moved apart, and in support of this idea, he cited the similarity between plant fossils in Europe and North America. It is possible that his theories did not catch on immediately because of his ideas on the mechanism for continental drift. Pellegrini thought that the continents were forced to drift apart by the onset of the worldwide flood reported in Genesis.